Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Legacy Farm, the podcast. I'm your host, Jace Young, and today's topic of discussion is the gifts beneath the pain. And so, guys, today's conversation is going to be just really based on my daily reading this morning. And again, going through my journey through this book called A Course in Miracles. And today's lesson was around just the love of God in your life, right? And so I'm going to make this relevant to business and stuff because that's just kind of how my mind works and everything like that. You know, what it made me think of was just looking back at all the painful times in my life, right? And there were some really challenging times. There were some things that I had to do back then that scared the shit out of me, to be honest, especially when it just came to first and foremost, leaving the banking industry, right? For those of you that have listened to my podcast for a long time, you know that I left with no plan in place. I did not have my wife's approval. I did not have anybody's approval. And a few people that I did talk to about it and that I told that I was thinking about doing it called me crazy. And they said, what the heck are you doing? You got a wife and small kids at home. I can completely see that side of the way that they were looking at it and things like that. But the thing was, though, is that when I made that decision, yeah, it was scary. It was painful. The next 2.5, 3 years, like they sucked, right? But at the end of the day, there was this beautiful gift just kind of below the surface of all the pain. And that's really what I want to talk to you about today, because that beautiful gift turned into, everything we've been able to create in Legacy Farmer over the past 5 years. And I'll even go back to, our family farm operation going under and everything back in 05. Guys, leading up to that point, my entire childhood, the farm was full of anxiety. It was full of stress. I saw a different version of, my dad compared to the person that he is now. I just didn't really enjoy it that much. And some of you that grew up on farm operations where the family was really close and it was a healthy relationship, good for you. My experience was not that. And I think a lot of people will resonate with that. A lot of people, depending on the situation on the farm, a lot of people don't really look forward to going back. And I was one of those people. I remember there was a specific situation that happened. There was a big fight that happened one day. And I told my dad that night that, hey, this is why I don't want to be a part of this. Just because I didn't want to have that type of long-term relationship with him. I didn't want to have all the resentment that I could tell was going on inside the operation, all the fighting, all the anxiety, all the stress. And it's just a tough place to be in. And I think a lot of family farms struggle with that. But anyways, I share all that with you because there was a ton of pain back in that time. And then the operation goes under. Obviously, my parents experienced a significant amount of pain and things like that. But at the end of the day, I get that it went under. I get that a lot of people can look at that and say like, man, that sucks. You didn't get to go back and experience that, or your parents lost everything. Totally get that. But guys, the gifts that have come from that, the blessings that have come from that, inarguable to me. Inarguable that was exactly part of the plan, that God planned all of this to happen. And that when we were going through the journey, it from the surface, it looked like absolute pain. And what I'm talking about when I'm talking about God's love in your life is God's love was creeping below the surface, right? It was below the pain. When we're going through it, you can't see it because the pain is so much in your face that you just can't see or have the awareness to look on, okay, what's the message behind this? How is God loving me through this entire process here? What I'm going through, right? Because at the end of the day, every negative experience in your life, if you've done the work and a lot of self-work on yourself, you should have the awareness to really look back at that experience and say, man, I can see exactly why this happened. I know exactly why I had to go through that and why God put me through that. And so, yes, in the middle of it, it seemed extremely painful. And that's all I thought. I thought God was punishing me during it, right? Those are some things that can come up for you. But beneath it all, it's like, no, it was just God's way of showing love to you by making certain things happen in your life. But also, too, maybe it's preventing from certain things happening in your life that, again, up front and in your face look like pain, but his love is underneath it all. So I share all that with you guys to hopefully spark a different viewpoint for you when you're looking at the painful or challenging times in your life or the times where you're going through adversity and everything like that. Because at the end of the day, every time we go through a painful experience or a painful lesson, there's something exposed, right? And exposing yourself allows for growth in your life, in your business, and in your journey here and everything like that. So those are the big things here that I guess we just need to focus on, that I want to remind myself to focus on as well, because if you're committed to building a life that's worthy of leaving behind, you need to understand that anything worth doing is going to be an uphill battle. And again, I feel like that's God's requirement in order for us to go there. And again, he's going to put us through all these adversity, all these challenges, this constant uphill battle there. But beneath it all is his love that he wants to bring to us in our life here. And if we can focus on that, right, versus just the pain that we're feeling in that moment there, how different I could have been back during those situations, or how I could have approached them differently, how I could have responded differently, versus just being emotional, right, and thinking like God's punishing me in certain ways and stuff like that, and thinking about like my parents and what they went through. I could totally see that just consuming like my dad's mind for a number of years there around like, what did I do to deserve this? For sure. Like I could totally see that. And there's a lot of people out there right now that have had painful things happen in their life. Maybe it's not business related, maybe it's just family related, and you have somebody that passes away or something like that, where you're like, why did I deserve this? And I'm not speaking specifically on that, but it's like, man, if we can change our perspective to just look at those painful experiences in life and try to find the love beneath it all, and where God is leading us and why this happens, and stuff like that. I'm a big believer, if you can't tell them, that there's a purpose and there's a reason for everything. When bad things happen or negative things do happen, it's going to be hard in the beginning, but hopefully, I have the awareness, and hopefully you can have the awareness to look past all that pain and look for, the love that God is trying to show you inside of your life, so that you can just approach it differently, right? You don't have to let it consume your mind. You don't have to, do all those things there, and you can just move forward in your life. Hopefully live a happy life versus one full of anger, resentment, stress, anxiety, which is what a lot of people live with today. So my friends, that concludes today's episode. At the end of the day, I hope you're able to look back or look past the painful experiences that you've been through, or maybe you're currently going through the challenges, the adversity and stuff like that, and just consider what's going on beneath the surface there, where I feel like God's love is kind of hiding from all of us, that he wants us to find it there, to find the gifts that he's actually bringing to you from going through that experience. And if you look at it through that lens, it just kind of changes things for you. And the last thing I'll share here too is, like, if I look at the sequence of events here, family farm going under, me going to college, me getting into ag banking, all the things that I had to experience here were the exact things that I had to go through to put me into a position to build Legacy Farmer to what we built, but also too, to create our software, Farmer Metrics. Like, I couldn't have built that if I did not go through those things. You know what I mean? And Legacy Farmer wouldn't exist if, my parents didn't lose everything, right? And my parents wouldn't have the blessings and life that they have now, and the ability to travel all the grandkids' games and be able to take vacations. My parents never took vacations when I was growing up. My dad was one of those guys. So they get to do all those things now. So to me, it was a great blessing that God brought to us by the family farm going under. And I know that's going to be, a little bit confrontational to a lot of people maybe, but it's just the reality, right? You can't, for me, it's inarguable, the blessings that he brought to us and our family and myself as well, going through that experience. So at the end of the day, it's our job to find those blessings, to find the gifts, to ultimately find God's love and whatever painful experience that we're going through, and do the best that you can at it, right? I'm not saying it's always going to be easy or all experiences are equal, because they're definitely not. Some are really, really painful, right? And so, but at the end of the day, hope this message was valuable for you. Hope it gave you a different perspective on life and the pain and the challenges that you're going through. And at the end of the day, I hope you take action because of it. So that concludes this episode, my friends. We will catch you on the next one.